Concept is about sitting down and talking leadership with people connected to the Queensland Rugby Union in many different ways, from board members, commercial partners and donors, to former players, coaches and people connected with the community game. The series is brought to you by our official luxury hotel partner, Amora Brisbane. It's been a privilege to work with Rob, Nikki, Tessa and the Amora team this year, and we're so excited to continue working with them as presenting partner of leaders within Queensland Rugby and the Amora Centreline Lounge on Queensland Reds Super Rugby game days in 2025. If you haven't checked out the beautifully refurbished Amora Brisbane, you need to. Whether you're travelling from overseas, interstate, within Queensland, or you're just wanting a staycation for that special occasion, Amora Brisbane is perfectly placed in the heart of the CBD. We've been thinking about the concept of leaders within Queensland Rugby for a long time, and to be able to bring it to life with 12 outstanding guests across 11 episodes was really enjoyable. I always enjoy sitting down and chatting with Hans Pearson, and having worked closely with him in recent years, it was really interesting to hear him talk about his leadership philosophy. I can see in everyday life he does practice what he preaches. Please enjoy this conversation with Store Local Managing Director and Founder, as well as Rugby Australia Board Member, Mr. Hans Pearson. Hans Pearson, welcome to Leaders Inside Queensland Rugby. Tell us about your connection to the game at the moment.
Thanks, Pete. Great to be here and part of the program. Well done for putting this together. My connection to rugby right now, I'm delighted that my business Store Local is a partner of the mighty Queensland Reds. We joined as a jersey sponsor this year, and over the last couple of years, we've evolved from the naming rights position as the partner of the Store Local Hospital Cup, which is the premier competition, men's competition here in southeast Queensland. And then this year we've also extended now to naming rights partner of the Store Local Women's Premiership, which is fantastic. So I guess we continue to evolve our partnership with Queensland Rugby. I'm delighted to see that Queensland Rugby itself is evolving. It's a fast-moving entrepreneurial organisation, very locally focused, and they are values that directly reflect our business and what drive us day to day. I also joined the Rugby Australia board earlier this year, and pleased to have the opportunity to add some value at a national level to the game, and see if I can help influence some outcomes as this game is in what I think is a really exciting position where we're coming off some challenging times, but there's no doubt that rugby is getting really well positioned. And the focus areas for me on the board are I'm on the Audit and Risk Committee, the sort of the dry stuff, but also am charged of looking after the community part of the game, which is a really deep passion of mine.
Important critical leadership roles, both as a major commercial partner of the QRU and also in that Rugby Australia role. Does leadership sit pretty comfortably with you?
Look, I guess it does. I don't really think about it that way. But I guess what I look for in leadership roles is the risk and the opportunity that comes with it. You know, the ability to have an idea and turn it into something that's real by finding and then working with outstanding people is, to me, what leadership's about, and I love that challenge. And so I guess. It's something I enjoy and something that I do each day of the week, so it's good.
The core focus of this series is to delve into the leadership journey of our guests. So I want to do that with yourself, Hans. I want to go right back to high school, your early adult life. Do you think you've always had a personality that would see yourself putting yourself forward to take lead roles and to be a natural leader?
Look, I guess I'm uncomfortable talking about that sort of thing. I mean, those sort of things it just happen along the way, and they happen to a lot of people. And you either adapt to it or you don't, or you embrace it or you don't. And I don't really see it as a positive or a negative. Some people naturally enjoy the leadership role and might have some skill at it, and others don't look for that, but bring a heap of value in other ways. So a whole team, to me, is a team of equals. Whether you're the newest member to a team, and we might be talking business, we might be talking sport, doesn't matter. I think they're really strong parallels between the two in terms of high performance and leadership and culture and teamwork. So whether you're the newest member or the most junior member or you're the present leader, you're only in that role for a period of time and you're no more or less important than anyone else in the team. And I really deeply believe that. Sometimes it's a bit of a tired trope by leaders, but it's very, very true. And I think that leads to authenticity in leaders. Any of the leaders that I've watched and learned from, and there's plenty of them, and I'm an avid, might say obsessive listener to leadership podcasts and business and sports business podcasts and books, is all about learning from leaders who are authentic. And it's never about them, it's about the team and the actual deliverables that they're providing in their role, which again is no more or less important than anyone else, and it's a transitory role. So if you're a leader, you better make sure you're leaving the team or the organisation in a better position for the next person and transitioning that next person into that leadership role. I think they're really important elements of leadership. And when I look around the Queensland Reds, the culture of the Queensland Reds at the moment, some of the really strong leadership I'm seeing within Rugby Australia, board members that I've had a real privilege to join recently, and business leaders that I've had the privilege to learn from over the years, they're the characteristics that I think last and work. And hopefully along the way I've picked some of those up and bring them to bear in what I do day to day in those various roles.
So I'm picking up that collaboration is key, and surrounding yourself with good people, and different personality types lend themselves to sharing ideas and information in different ways. So making sure you have enough emotional intelligence to track the different people in the room and value their opinion, even if they're not the first to put their hand up.
Absolutely. Look, if you're the chair of a meeting or the leader of an organisation, one of the things I constantly drive into the leaders in my business is, you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, use them in that ratio. Listening is so important. Say less and listen more. And I think one of the things I've learned over time is also, if you give more time for people to talk and you listen, they'll get there in their own time. Some people talk eloquently, some people less so, but they might communicate in a different way. You've just got to, as a leader, watch and learn and listen as to how people are communicating so you can get the best out of them, give them the opportunity to be their best. So I think, the other thing I've learned over time, and certainly a lot better at it now than I was, and I can be a lot better still, is to watch and then adapt to that really quickly. So people walk into your organisation, again, whether it's a business or a sporting team, each day looking to do their best. No one turns up trying to do a bad job, but you don't know what they're dealing with that morning on their way into work, whatever form that might be. They might be having a really difficult day. They might be having a great day. They might be dealing with some illnesses or stuff that they don't really want to share with you, but you've got to look for those cues and make sure that you're making space for that. I think where the hard edge comes there also is when you see people that are really outperforming. The old saying, if you're good enough, you're old enough if you're good enough. So people quite young in our organisation, my business at Store Local, we try and elevate youth, and we've got a strong youth policy. And a lot of us have been over-promoted at certain points, and you just got to try and work it out. But someone's seen something in you and had the confidence and then given you the framework to meet that next challenge. So I think the hard edge is seeing strong potential and giving them the confidence and the framework to make that next step way beyond anything that they think they can do. Getting the heart in the mouth and letting them really challenge themselves and have that sleepless night about how can they possibly do this. I think that's real personal development, and a good leader gives people the confidence to do that, but then holds them accountable. I think the other hard edge is if someone's not performing or if they're not a cultural fit. What I've learned over time is move quickly. They're just not going to fit, and that might be the best outcome for them. So if they don't fit in the sporting organisation or the business organisation, or they're just simply not performing, you need to act quickly. But prior to that, and something that we need to keep getting better at, is build clear KPIs and expectations around team members so they know what they've got to deliver. And if they're not delivering and it's not working for the organisation, then in a very, very caring way, provide them an opportunity to pursue their objectives or their dreams elsewhere. So it's a double-edged sword, but I think, coming back to your question, having emotional intelligence, if that's the term, just watching people, understanding people, being curious about people, and putting together a team that works harmoniously is critical. And quite topically, someone that's doing that extremely well here at the Queensland Reds right now is Les Kiss, and I've had the joy of having a couple of one-on-ones with Les and just listening to how he talks about his team and the time he takes to understand the players in the Queensland Reds, the time he takes to get to know younger players that aren't in the squad but are in the rugby circle, is super impressive. And that's an individual and a leader who is curious, has got high emotional intelligence, but also brings that hard edge when he needs to, because he's focused on high performance. So there's an example of a leader that I've learned off just in the last 9 to 12 months, and constantly looking for people I can learn from.
Amora Hotel Brisbane is the proud presenting partner of leaders within Queensland Rugby. Relax in style with spacious accommodation, modern facilities and modern Australian dining. Or explore the city with just a short stroll to the city centre, Queen Street Mall and Howard Smith Wharf's dining precinct. Plan your next adventure today at amorahotels.com. You referenced you consume a lot of podcasts. It's a space that interests you. Are there any particular people, either through podcasts or through your own journey, that have shaped the leader that you are today that you could share?
Sure. Well, I guess pragmatically, in the real world, I'm fortunate enough to work with a fellow by the name of Brian White, who's the chair emeritus of the Ray White Group. Just one of those dynamic, amazing individuals that you come across in your career, and I had the opportunity to have a week one-on-one with Brian overseas doing some business some years back, and just to hear his journey. And probably the key lesson from Brian is, again, he never said a lot, did a lot of listening, and he was always very curious and trying to improve every single day of the week, and was forever dissatisfied. So I think that's important. Podcasts and books, as I said, I've got libraries of them. The one that I carry around with me every day is a book called The Outsiders, which is a study of businesses that have outperformed and the leaders of those businesses, and the outsiders mindset is something that we try to bring to our business, and that is looking for a different way, being patient and disciplined in what you do, not following the trends, and just being the disruptor in some ways. That's a position I like to be in. That's a really important reference book for me every day, actually.
Progress is rarely linear, whether it's in your organisation, whether it's yourself as an individual as you grow. Are there mistakes that you've made along the way that you can speak to at all?
Well, if you've got a few hours, I could answer that question properly. I do remember going to a lunch about 10 years ago, and the guest speaker was asked a similar question, and he quite straight-faced said he'd never made a mistake. I've never forgotten that. It was obviously not a true statement, and he was quite serious. No, plenty of mistakes from a rugby sense. You talk about leadership. For some reason, I was captain of fourth grade at Jeeps in Brisbane back in the 90s, and we lost every game for 3 years. So there must have been some mistakes there. That was a tough period of time. I think the better way for me to answer that is the leader I am today. I'm a lot better than I was, I would say, a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, no question. And that is a bit more of, and I guess this is the journey of an entrepreneurial career, a bit less of that hyper-energetic urgency, forever dissatisfied, no question, every single day trying to challenge a business and how can we be better. We never, ever rest on our laurels. But just having a bit more patience with the team and being careful in who we bring into the team is things I've certainly learned, and acting faster when people have a promotion opportunity and when people don't belong in the organisation. I think certainly would be guilty of being a bit slow to move on both of those fronts over time. But, you know, the other thing as I reflect is as a leader, there's been times where maybe I haven't thought sufficiently large as to opportunities that might be in front of us. So I think it's always something I drive through the business, make sure we think big, you know, and challenge ourselves in that regard. And I look at the Queensland Reds again. I keep bringing it back to that to try and make it relevant, but I can see the Queensland Reds are thinking big right now, and that's off the back of a lot of years of getting ready. The fiscal discipline that this organisation's had over the last 6 to 7 years means it can think big. But what's really exciting is it is aspirational as an organisation, and it's great to see. So I think never be afraid as a leader, and hence as an organisation, to think big and don't wait for permission, just get on with it.
Sounds like whether formalised or just natural is, I guess, a responsibility that comes with your different roles, that reflection and self-reflection is an important part of your genesis, I guess, as a leader. Is that fair?
Yeah, it's just constant self-improvement, and I've said it a couple of times, but that permanent dissatisfaction, you know, on my wall at my home office, you know, I've got, you know, 3 things that I reference all the time. You know, one is, you know, do the paperwork. So that's a constant challenge to myself to never lose sight of the detail in negotiations and transactions. You know, you can often get an edge through knowing the detail, and plenty of examples I could point to there where we've actually taken the time to read the paperwork, understand the detail, and constantly surprised that someone else in a negotiation hasn't bothered to do that. The next is, you know, money talks and bullshit walks. Plenty of people say they're going to do something and this is their plan. Just do it and probably don't even talk about it afterwards. Just do your job and keep moving. And, you know, I think, you know, the last of those is just, you know, be relentless. You know, just keep turning up every day and look for improvement. So, yeah, I guess that might be categorised as self-reflection, but it's probably a little bit of self-flagellation, a bit of self-criticism, and never being satisfied. And I think that's what keeps. If the leader is of that mindset, then you definitely get that pulsating through an organisation. That everyone is turning up every day trying to break new ground and move with discipline and getting the detail right, but with that energy and that sort of, you can feel it when you're in an organisation, then you know something special is going to happen. And I do hear that around the traps about Queensland Rugby, and I can see it. I can actually see it in Australian rugby. And I just was talking to a South African this week and having a few jokes about the recent series, and he said, listen, I can see something's happening here. It's really exciting to see. You can get the feel. And that's just that restless energy that goes on in an organisation, regardless of how the external environment perceives you or regardless of the challenges that are there. There's always opportunity, and you've got to go and grab it.
You are relentless. You are a busy man. You put your hand up for lots, and you don't do things by halves. How do you balance family? How do you balance self-care and mateship and things outside of your day-to-day to ensure that you get that balance, you know, your own version of right?
It's a deliberate effort, I must say. It's a really good question. But again, what have I learned over time is to do more of that, right? And
is that because it makes you a better leader, do you think?
Leadership's just part of the journey, right? I think probably the key thing is I don't take it very seriously, any of it. You know, we're only here for a short time, so we better have a good time and enjoy it. And you're going to mess some things up. You're going to do some good things, and, you know, don't sweat it. So don't take things too seriously. But I deliberately carve out time for family. Family's what it's all about at the end of the day. You know, financial rewards and recognitions come and go. They're really meaningless at the end of the day. Family is everything. Friends are everything. I've got a great group of guys that I'm part of an exercise group, it's probably a strong word for it, on a Friday morning, all middle-aged guys, and you'd be surprised at how religiously that is in the diary for this group of 15 or 20 guys, all sort of in their 50s and into their 60s now, and the importance of that group to all the guys in there, it sort of blows me away each week. And because people are dealing with their own stuff, whether they've got health issues, business issues, family issues, or they might be having a great week or not a great week. Just being around each other it's made a world of difference to some of the guys in that group, which is fantastic. Plenty of exercise and watch what I eat and all those sort of good things, but everything in moderation.
It's been great to chat with you, Hans. Thanks for joining us on Leaders Inside Queensland Rugby.
Mate, thanks. It's been a privilege, and keep going, and well done with what's happening here at the Reds. It's super exciting.
Thanks for listening to Leaders Within Queensland Rugby, proudly presented by Amora Hotel Brisbane. Head to Apple Podcasts and Spotify to subscribe and get a new episode every week. Or if you can't wait that long, head to the Queensland Reds YouTube page to see all the episodes in one place.